Christos, thank you so much for joining Eco Advance. Can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what you're doing?
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you. My name is Christos Zoumides. I'm a research scientist at the Energy, Environment and Water Research Center at the Cyprus Institute. I've been working at this institute for the past 11 years, starting as my postdoc career, where I graduated with my PhD in 2015, then as associate scientist, and now currently as a research scientist.
So you've had an opportunity to work on a bunch of projects. Tell us a little bit about Be Water and Recare. What are the key takeaways that you have from those projects?
So, Be Water and Recare were actually the first project that I started working with. Be Water was a science society project, and the idea of that project was to co-develop participatory approaches, river basin management plans, working in 4 Mediterranean watersheds, river basins, going a little bit against the, by that time, flow. Instead of having a top-down approach where a management plan was designed by engineers and water managers, we wanted to go and develop it with the society of each river basin. And in the case of Recare was a project looking more on soil threats across Europe. The whole project was quite big consortium with 26 partners, 10 soil threats, 17 case studies. So we've been working with particular soil threat in the case of Cyprus with soil erosion by water. And we've been working again with communities trying to address the issue of soil erosion and land degradation in a semi-arid environment, and also doing a lot of not only participatory work, but also hands-on implementation of the selected options that stakeholders selected as the optimum solution that they would like to proceed in order to combat the identified risk.
So it sounds like this is more stakeholder focused approach. Do you feel like this could be, that this was successful? One of the things about Eco Advance, of course, is that we want to help people see how to be successful. So what lessons can you learn about success from those projects?
Okay, both projects, indeed, they had a heavy participatory component in a way. But of course, the starting point is the scientific, the evidence base. I mean, it's science, it's facts, it's things that we monitor, things that we observe when it comes to water or soils. So there is a strong scientific input in the beginning, obviously. But then what we realized is that if we don't engage with the society that it's asked to implement some solutions, science will remain science in papers and writing. So we had to explore these participatory processes exactly to engage society into a dialogue with scientists, with other stakeholders, with authorities. And in both projects, we worked with, in a way, similar, but each project had its own peculiar approaches. I would say that it's a successful model, but it requires quite some time and effort by the scientists to get outside their world and try to communicate their findings and work with stakeholders. It's definitely quite time-consuming, as I said, but it's also rewarding once you try to integrate knowledge that could be outside our scientific context. Let's say it's local knowledge, it's what people believe about something. This knowledge, in many cases, is absent. So now we try to understand a little bit better and find ways to work around solutions. So eventually, if you engage society, they can have the potential for being accepted and implemented. So this is where I would say these processes help. And you give voice essentially to the people, right? I mean, you try to also understand their perspective, their buy-in in the solution, let's say.
Do you think it made a change in the way people looked at that kind of planning in Cyprus over the long term?
Good question. Let me give you an example. When we started talking in Rikier, for example, about so in Rikier, as I said, we were dealing with land degradation, soil erosion by water, and we're discussing with mountain communities on how we can combat this issue. We're talking about the mountainous environment, slopes, typically farmed in terraces, that over time these systems were abundant because of these traditional techniques require a lot of time, labor work. And we're discussing with stakeholders the solutions, like what can we do? And one of the options was to rehabilitate terraces. And when we started talking about, okay, can we do this voluntarily? Should we start initiating something around this option? Does it link to the economics, to the social character, to the traditional aspects? So overall, we had 4 options. One of them was this rehabilitation. And we said in the beginning the word voluntary or communal. And we had quite some reaction that, people are not going to be working voluntarily. So we said, okay, let's test the waters here, right? And we did it. We started with one workshop and we invited like everybody come and let's fix one terrace wall and let's see if we can do it. In that project, we ended up doing 7 hands-on workshops. In a follow-up project, we did another 8 workshops. Now we're building from that idea. So we learned. Originally, we faced some hesitation. There were barriers to overcome. First of all, the mentality of people. But once you start and people see some action in the field, they will respond. They will, at least those that they see the benefit and the interest. So on that experience, we built another project, and now we're talking about taking into the next stage to having a school on liver dry stone walling. So, but this is something that took almost a decade to materialize. So, but the roots came from a project that started with this idea in a workshop, and us saying, taking the risk that okay, let's try and see if this is going to work. It's not that we solved the problem, but at least we created something out of it. So it's a slow process. It requires effort and time and be persistent, but eventually it leads to something that it's tangible and you leave an impact behind, I would say. So this could be one example. In Be-Water, we had multiple options discussed for water management in Pediaeus River, one of the river basins. 30 options in total. Some of them are now not all 30 options are implemented, but we see that municipalities started over time discussing them, considering them. So again, it's a process that you try to initiate society, and then somebody needs to implement. It takes time, and yeah, it's in both cases we have some elements of success, I would say.
That's great. And what would you say to a person trying to think about whether science and freshwater restoration should be a career? What advice would you give to them about how to start out or how to think about it?
First of all, to consider that water is a global resource. So we often think that water is local, obviously, but try to link water with what is happening from the food that they eat to what happens when they open the tap, and also look around and try to see where water fits in their everyday life. Water is practically everywhere. There are many issues to engage with in water science or hydrology or quality of water. It's a matter of where a person has an interest to contribute to, right? Is it management? So is it a quantitative issue? Is it an engineering issue where a solution could be valuable? Is it working with stakeholders, finding trade-offs and mutual agreements between two countries or two villages that are sharing water? Many issues relate to water. So water, as I said, is everywhere. It's a matter of where a person wants to put his self and efforts and work with.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your being with EcoAdvance.
Thank you.
Just in terms of a summary of all the things that you've talked about, what would you say are the critical characteristics for somebody to be successful in freshwater restoration?
Successful. Well, like most good things in life require time to mature. So for sure, you have to identify issues, and if you are sure about the solutions, to see them implement and succeed, you have to give time for them to, from the moment of inception to the development, to the implementation, to the monitoring, success. This process, this chain of events, it requires time. It's not something that it's going to happen from one moment to the next. Now, for example, we're talking about nature-based solutions. Most of these solutions, if someone looks behind, are solutions that they have been implemented, they were forgotten. Now we try to renovate them and integrate them in our modern ways of life. This will require time. So obviously, somebody that looks into working in this sector has to have the mind to think outside the box, but also the patience to see this process evolve and eventually succeed.
Thank you.